Together with government leaders, will today look at ways of achieving transformation in the mining industry to ensure that all Africans share in the continent's mineral wealth. Africa has by far the world's largest mineral deposits. Now, President Jacob Zuma will address delegates a little bit later today. Our economics anchor, Frances Hurd, she's at the event. She joins us now live from Cape Town. A very good morning to you, Frances. Thank you once again for joining us.
Good morning to you, Eben, and a much better day, I must tell you. At least no rain in Cape Town with all these international and African guests here.
We have it, it's moved on to Joburg now. It's freezing up here, Frances. But quickly, tell us, what are delegates saying about Africa's outlook before we get into today?
Well, it's a mixed picture, Eben. Africa, once the forgotten continent, has really been stunning the world. Over the last decade and a half, we've seen the main staggeringly high growth rates, and these are from small countries. So the word has been that Africa has been rising. A huge opportunity for South African companies, especially with our growth rates not that good. A lot of the retailers, a lot of the banks have been looking at the rest of Africa for growth, this race into the continent. Now we're at something of a crossroads, because some of the focus is moving back to the developed world, to what's happening in America, Europe. Will emerging markets like our own, will young African economies growing up be able to sustain those growth rates? Because Africa also has a whole lot of challenges that are being looked at, such as Ebola, terrorism. We have this young population building, and it can be an opportunity because you can really get these economies thriving. You have these huge consumer markets that all the companies are interested in, or it can be a threat if not enough of them get jobs. Now, I spoke to the CEO of Liberty yesterday, and he's optimistic. He says that the fundamentals are there for Africa to continue to grow. We just need to harness technology and things like that. And I pushed him about this youth bulge. Will these young people coming into the market, 1 billion in the next 15 years, that will be the swelling of that working age population. Will these economies be able to sustain them? And I asked Tlabo Dloti, he's the CEO of Liberty. Let's hear what he had to say.
Well, the first thing is that growth does require, obviously, the stability in the underlying markets, which the governments of these countries seems to have delivered up to now, and we want that to continue. And I think we encourage that message. We hope the conversations here continue to sustain that. But the second element, it requires investments. We need to see significant foreign investments coming into creating better economies, functioning economies, creating the infrastructure that's required, creating financial markets that allow free flow of capital to fund the initiatives that are happening on the ground. That's what creates employment. That's what creates the inclusion you're talking about. So, of course, what we are talking about here is how do we make sure that we include more people in the continent, in the economy, in the vibrant economy that we have in the world. And to the extent that we can do that, we really believe that we can start playing a meaningful role in actually ensuring that the marginalized are part of a global economy that we belong to.
Everybody says it has to be a public-private partnership. That's often bandied about. But we are seeing it, the Grow Africa initiative, agriculture. What do you think what role should the private sector be playing, and how do you work with African governments?
Yeah. We believe that the partnership is essential, because to a large degree we need a commitment of the governments to follow through on their policy framework. We need them to lead with some of the investments in demonstrating their commitment into lasting peace, into lasting investments. But most essentially, we need them to mobilize the rest of the capital coming in from the local investors, but also from international investors, to come in and follow and take root into those markets. Clearly, those are essential.
Interesting views there, Frances. Just tell me quickly the expectation today. The president is going to speak to the forum. What do you think he'll be focusing on?
There's an opportunity for South Africa to showcase itself. Of course, it does come at a tricky time, especially when we're looking at African linkages, because people are complaining about our visa regulations, and of course there have been attacks on foreigners. So Eben, I did speak to Brand South Africa yesterday. Chichi Maponya, the chair, was in a meeting with President Jacob Zuma, and she was addressing those issues. Here's what she had to say about what's expected today. This is Chichi Maponya, the chair of Brand South Africa.
The president is really going to carry out the message that we first articulated at Davos, that South Africa is open for business. He's going to talk about the increased focus on the integration of business in Africa. So those will be the key themes. And of course, there's quite a lot that will be on infrastructure, on innovation and technology, which form some of the pillars. And of course, one of the main issues which were tabled at Davos was how do we look to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor, and reduce unemployment, and especially youth unemployment. So those are some of the key elements that will be covered in the president's message.
Francis, today also a focus will be on transformation within the mining sector. I want to ask you a question. Can mining be the silver bullet that's going to lift people in this country out of poverty? Or should we not maybe look at other things like manufacturing, technology and the like?
Eben, sorry, I missed the end of your question there, but I don't think the mining is the silver bullet at all. Actually, yesterday we were speaking to Ben Magara, the CEO of Lonmin. Lonmin announcing that more than 3,000 jobs could be cut. We're seeing mining in a very difficult state because of the demand for commodities. And the problem here, Eben, is that we cannot rely on things like mining. If you look at the National Development Plan, what the idea is that we need to find new innovative manufacturing solutions that absorb jobs, because simply we cannot absorb enough jobs in mining, even in sort of low-scale manufacturing. We really need to leapfrog, and some of the discussions are around technology, what that can do for Africa. As you know, everybody in South Africa has a cell phone. There are more cell phones than people, and across Africa we are seeing a lot of people jump, not getting landlines but moving to mobile technology that can aid small businesses, it can aid entrepreneurship, it can aid banking, and a lot of people are saying that the continent should think about how to leapfrog ahead and harness technology, but mining certainly is not the solution. Of course, there will be discussions around mining, but a lot of those other discussions around how technology can be used, information to harness and move us forward.
Great job. Thank you very much, Francis. Francis Hurd coming to you live from the World Economic Forum on Africa in Cape Town. That's at the Cape Town International Convention Centre. Last night, 4 people were shot dead at a local police station in Alexandra, allegedly by an off-duty police officer. Now, let's take a look at your comments on